Well, hello everyone. I'm Jama Kehoe Bigger, director of the Midwest Writers Workshop. And tonight it is my pleasure to welcome a friend and Midwest Writers alum, Annie Sullivan. We want to congratulate her on the release of her third young adult novel, A Curse of Gold, which is her sequel. There it is, a sequel to A Touch of Gold.
Got that one too.
There it is. So we will chat tonight about plotting, about editing, about Midwest writers, and about all things writing. So we'll hear about curses and queens and pirates and kings, gods and magic, and we'll hear about the final stage of Princess Cursed by Midas's Touch. So stay with us. We're going to have a great hour, and we welcome your questions, of course. Annie's going to give us a little summary of both of her books, and then we'll talk about how she wrote them, a little bit about an autopsy of her novels, and we just have a great discussion plan. So tell us about these two books, Annie.
Yeah, so A Touch of Gold came out in 2018, and it is about the cursed daughter of King Midas who sets out to retrieve her father's gold when it gets stolen. And A Curse of Gold just came out yesterday. It is the sequel, and it follows Princess Cora as she tries to break the golden curse over her and her father. So it's a fun young adult adventure full of fantasy and magic and Greek gods and a whole bunch of good stuff.
They are very much worth reading, and we hope that at the end of this hour, you'll want to jump on your indie bookstore or any bookstore and get your copy. So, all right, well, let's talk about the preliminaries. So, how did you get the idea of these novels, and maybe how long did it take you to write the first one? I know that you were coming to Midwest Writers conferences when you were working on that, and I do recall that you won a writing contest as well. So tell us a little bit about where these ideas came from.
Yeah, so A Touch of Gold was actually inspired by the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. It got me thinking about cursed gold because in that movie they kind of have to hunt down cursed gold. So I was like, man, what if there was a different way that they could do that? What if they could absorb it or track it in a different way? And so that led me to thinking of King Midas because he's all about cursed gold, right? And that made me think about his daughter because I love writing about strong female protagonists. So I said, what about his daughter? She's such a forgotten character in the original myth. I mean, she's just there so that King Midas learns that, you know, turning his daughter to gold was not great, and asking for that power was actually a mistake. But I wanted to explore his daughter's story. You know, what happens after you've been turned to gold? Do you have lasting side effects? Do you have magical gold powers? How is your relationship with your father? All those kind of things I really wanted to bring to the forefront in that book. And then the writing process for that one was very long. I started it back in 2010, actually. And as you can see, it didn't come out until 2018. So 8 years it took to write that book again and again and again and revise it. And I went through some pretty major revisions because yes, I did work on it right before coming to Midwest Writers, and then I ended up getting an agent thanks to some things I learned at Midwest Writers, and from there my agent and I kind of overhauled it completely and made it something same story but just different characters, different some little different events, things like that that really made it shine. So it was definitely a book that took quite a while to bring to life, whereas the sequel, I was only given about a year to write that one. So it's a completely different story, as you might say.
So were there any challenges with it taking longer to write, or the stress of getting it done? Did you have certain deadlines that you had to work with?
Yeah, you often will have pretty strict deadlines when you're working with an editor. So for the first book, I think I went through 3 rounds of revision, and usually you get like a 10-page single-space edit letter for your first time, and you're given maybe like 3 weeks to rewrite the book. So you're not given a lot of time. And so then you'll do those rewrites, send it back, your editor will read it again, send it back to you. And this time maybe you have about 2 weeks to make slightly less changes, just kind of tie up some loose ends, make sure everything looks good. And then you'll kind of go through that last tiny little edit to make sure that everything is wrapped up. But for a sequel, it can be entirely different. I had to actually turn in an outline ahead of time to say, here's what the sequel is going to be about. Here's what the direction I'm thinking of going in. And we actually went back and forth on several different outlines. I'll share a fun fact with you. In the sequel, they end up going to an island, a very cool island. And my publisher loved that idea. They're like, yes, we want you to go there. However, we don't want you to take a boat to get there. And I was like, wait. So you want me to go to an island but not take a boat? And they were like, yes. And I was like, okay, I will work on that. And it actually worked out really well. But they were saying, you know, in the first book, they go on a boat journey, and they didn't want to go on a boat journey in the second book because they'd be too similar. So those are the things you really have to start thinking about when you're even plotting a second book, is that a publisher might think it's too similar, or your characters really change in the editing process, or different things like that. So the second book was an entirely different sort of beast in writing it. And they give you just a couple months really to write it, because then you've got to go through again those couple months of editing, and then they need a ton of time for promotion. So even though your book might be done and ready by March, it's not going to come out until September or December or something like that.
And you have a full-time job, right?
I do. I work for Wiley Publishing. I don't know how much you can see in the video, but if you look over here, you can see a whole bunch of yellow and black books. And those are the dummies books. So like Computers for Dummies, Writing Fiction for Dummies, all of that. That's the company that I work for during the day. I am a senior copywriter there. So I write those emails that are like, hey, check out our new books, or use your 20% off coupon, or anything like that. So that's me, guys.
You had to squeeze in writing with your job responsibilities. You couldn't just take off 2 weeks and just write.
No, I would honestly. So when I was doing those revisions, when I told you like you get 3 weeks, that's like my whole family knows, my friends know. I'm like, guys, I'm out. Like, I'm in revisions. It's like a thing. I'm in revisions means I can't go out with anybody. I will usually work a full day, come home, work for a couple hours, like 3-4 hours, take like an hour for dinner, and then get right back on and work until 2 a.m. And I would just do that day after day after day to really get the book where it needed to be. So it's not easy, guys. It definitely takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And I know a lot of authors who, if they just say I'm in revisions, I'm like, I'm not even gonna.
I know.
You're good. I'm out. Like, you take your time.
You're not one that gets up at 4 a.m. You work until late at night.
I would much rather work until later. I just can't. Like, setting that alarm almost is just more painful. Even like for 4 a.m. Like, ugh. So yes.
So are you when you were creating the plot and working on you said you had to do an outline. Did you on the first book, are you more a pantser or a plotter? Which direction did you go?
I am a total pantster. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means I fly by the seat of my pants. I don't plot my stories out before I write them. I literally just start writing, and I see who comes up, and I see who these characters are as I'm writing them. I don't do any sort of character profile questionnaire or anything like that. I just sort of make up what they look like as they go along. I'm like, oh, well, I should tell them what their eye color is now or something, So I don't know what characters we're going to see. I don't know where we're going to go. So that's why it was so hard for the sequel to write an outline, because they were like, okay, we're going to need an outline. I'm like, well, I can't write an outline until I have the book written. So that's always interesting, I guess. But yeah, no, so that was hard being a pantster, but I love it.
Did you have to stick to the outline?
I probably could have gotten away with some things, but I actually did stick pretty much to the outline, because I was like, you know what, I like this. Like, I put a lot of thought into it.
Book 4, pantser or plotter?
A lot more pantsing. Like, yeah, I just don't. I mean, I keep it all up here. I really don't. I don't write a lot of notes. Only when I get stuck do I start to make little notes of like, okay, we're here and we need to get to, because I usually know the ending. So like I kind of treat my being a pantser like if we were going on a road trip from California to New York, I know we might stop in Utah, or we might go to the world's biggest ball of yarn, or we're going to have to stop in the bathroom at some point. But I don't know who we're going to meet, where exactly we're going to stop, what state it's going to be in. I just know we're going to make it to the end. So that's kind of how I think about it. Like I might have a couple little plot points, but I like to know the ending. So if I'm stuck, I like to write out where I am and where I need to go. And I say, okay, what gets me to there?
So it's kind of like what if you play the what if game, kind of.
Yes, I love the what if game. And for those of you guys who don't know what that is, for me at least, the way I do it is I'll try to come up with at least 20 ideas of like what if, what could happen, you know, maybe dragons attack, or maybe the cops show up, like whatever kind of, you know, story you're writing, someone gets murdered, I don't know. Write those ideas in and list out 20 different ideas of things that might happen in your book. Usually get rid of the first 5 because those are usually the obvious ones. Get rid of the last 5 because that's the ones like dragon unicorn show up, like usually a stretch. But look at those middle 10 and see, you know, for your own writing, what might be a good fit, and maybe it'll spark something.
Yeah, good idea. So when you wrote the first book, did you think that there was going to be a second one? And did you pitch both those ideas to your agent, or how did that go?
Well, since I'm such a pantster, I literally got to the end of the first book, A Touch of Gold, and said, oh, well, this needs a sequel because now they need to break the curse, or at least try. And so I had the first book done, and we pitched it as a standalone with series potential, which is kind of the wording for like, it has a sequel planned if you would like it. So, and unfortunately for me, they did want it, which is really great. So yeah, I did not know going in, but it turned out really well. And now there's potential for some spin-offs and things, but maybe someday I'll get there.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. So, so that was the preliminaries. We talked a little bit about writing in revision already, but can you give us the story of kind of how the book sold?
Yeah. So it's actually a weird story. So I had one book on submission that did not sell, which means no publishers wanted it, which was really sad. And so that's when my agent and I actually went back and looked at A Touch of Gold and said, let's revise this. So we completely revamped it, went on submission, which means you're out with publishers to see if they would like to buy it. Got a few rejections, got a few maybe, this is okay, or someone else, you know, I just bought a book with pirates, so I can't buy 2 books with pirates, you know, it's so subjective. So just hang in there if you're in those query trenches, you guys. It's rough, I know. But then eventually Blink, my publisher, who's part of HarperCollins, said, oh, we really like this. So then you're like, okay, so then it has to go through a couple different meetings. It has to go through like an acquisitions meeting and a marketing meeting where they have like publicity, and everyone has to weigh in like, yes, we think this is a good idea, or we think it would sell. And they have to figure out, you know, like which books is it similar? Is it too similar? All those kind of things. And then from there, hopefully they will make you an offer. And then if you get multiple offers, I did not, but if you do, you can go to auction where multiple publishers will kind of fight for your book and start bidding on it and be like, I'll give you this much for it. I'll give you that much for it, which is a really interesting experience. It has its good and bad reasons. If you have questions about that, please leave them in the comments and we can talk more about that as well. But yeah, that's kind of the story of how it sold. And then I actually sold A Curse of Gold, the sequel, at the same time that I sold my other book, Tiger Queen.
So
that was kind of a 2-for-1, 2-for-1 deal where they were like, okay, well, we want your next 2 books. So that was really cool that it was like 2 at once. So that made it really nice.
When you were working on the rough draft, how rough was your rough draft for your book?
For the first one, it was really rough, you guys. And I think if it's your first book, it's going to be rough. You know, like the story was there, but it was just a little clunky and didn't move as quickly as it should have. It had extra characters. Like always be thinking, are there characters that can be combined and serve the same purpose? Are these the right characters? I mean, in the first draft of A Touch of Gold, it was actually Cora's maid who goes on the journey with her. And it was like an older woman who was like all full of knowledge and everything. And that was nice. But having her cousin go instead was a really fun way to bring a friend into the story and to really have these kind of two really great female heroines saving the day and saving their kingdom. So I really, really liked that aspect of it. So yeah, it's definitely a little crazy trying to edit and everything and get everything in there. And things definitely do change. But yeah, that was kind of that for that one.
Um, did you get a lot of feedback on your drafts? How did that process go?
I did. So, I mean, I had that first draft that was, again, like I said, really, really rough. And I met a lot of critique partners, actually at Midwest Writers, and we can talk definitely about critique partners because they are so important. So one of the people that I met through Midwest Writers read it, gave me some really good feedback. My agent gave me really good feedback. And that's the thing as a writer is you really need to be able to take feedback because you are going to be, and first of all, you have to love the story because you're going to be editing it for years straight. You're going to be reading it over and over and over again. You have to know that story and those characters inside and out. And having good critique partners will help you take that rough draft to a new level. I will say now I write pretty clean drafts. I don't let things linger. Like if there's something in the back of my mind, like, oh, I'll go back and fix that, I go back and fix it now. I cannot go forward unless what comes before is like perfect in my mind. So that's just me. Other people are like, yeah, I'll fix it later and it's fine. And they do. If that's you, that's cool. They're definitely all types of writers. So don't dismay. But that's kind of how I work as a writer. Is I try to produce as clean a draft as I can while knowing that it's still going to need editing. And that's where your critique partners come in. And if you're looking for other places to find critique partners, definitely check in the comments here. Is there someone who's writing what you're writing? Join the Midwest Writers Facebook group. That is a great place. Post in there that you're looking for someone. Post what you're looking for, what you're writing, all that kind of stuff, and see if someone else is doing something similar. There's also Write On Con. It's an online conference where you can post in different forms and maybe find a critique partner that way. So there are some different options out there that you can take that will get you some good critique partners because your critique partners are kind of going to make or break you. You know, the advice you get from them as well is going to be really important. So you want to find good ones.
On the editing process,
Mm-hmm.
the final draft goes to the editor. So how much input does your editor give you? And in addition to your readers that you had, are there other help that you got on was it on maybe plotting, or was it strictly editing for grammar? What kind of input did you receive and that you really wanted, I guess?
No, I get a lot of input from a lot of different people. My first readers are always my sister and my mom, and they're always like, don't have your family read it. But my sister's really good and she catches all my silly mistakes. So that way, at least I feel like it's clean. It's been in someone's hands before it goes to my critique partners or my agent. Then my agent will give me a ton of feedback. And then my editor, of course, will give me the vast majority of the feedback. And it's okay to push back on your editor a little bit too. So they actually, for A Touch of Gold, which is all about Greek mythology, they actually said, what if we took out the Greek mythology and just made it like kind of about King Midas's daughter without Greek mythology? And I said, no. And I also knew that Greek mythology was going to be really important for the sequel. And so I pointed that out. I pointed out, like otherwise I just have to create a system of gods who are like, this guy is now named Tom, but he's actually Poseidon. He's just named Tom, so sometimes there's a benefit to pushing back and saying, hey, I think this is going to work better in the long run. So let's look at it this way. So editing is the trickiest part. It can be a little heartbreaking. You might have to take things out. You might have to add things in. You might have to cut word count way down and then kind of slowly build it back up. Some people like to go in different layers, like they might just look at the character, or they just might look at the setting or the plot or the dialogue, like on one read through. But I like to look at it all. Like I just like to read through and be like, okay, I'm dealing with this issue while I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with setting, and that's just the easiest for me. But everyone has their different method that works.
What was the easiest to write? Is it your settings or the character dialogue? Did you have any issues trying to the dialogue that you had for your male characters as opposed to the female? What were some of the challenges that you were facing?
I think I love setting. So setting for me is the easiest to write. That and kind of like magic. But I think character and dialogue is something not I don't struggle with it, but it's not as fun for me to write as the setting. So I always have to be careful to make sure that are your characters sounding different? Are they acting the way they need to be acting and acting, according to where their character is at this point in the story, not where I think they need to be. All those kind of things come into play.
So it wasn't hard to write the male
No, I
dialogue.
don't think so. I think it just kind of came naturally based off of like their conversations and what I thought he needed to be as a person. So
Now, did you read any of your rough drafts out loud so that you could hear what dialogue that it sounded like, if it sounded natural?
no, I know a
No.
ton of authors do that and they love it. I think I would get so bored. I just couldn't do it. But it is a great way. It's a great way.
It is a great way.
I just couldn't do it.
So let's talk about as far as the publishing and the marketing. How did you come up with your titles? And the book cover? Did those change? Did you have any? How much impact did you have on those decisions?
Yeah. So for A Touch of Gold, they actually had me, I'll hold it up again so you can see the actual cover. They had me send in a whole bunch of like Pinterest images, things I liked, or things that were important to the book, like a list of like, she has gold skin, roses are important, she wouldn't wear a crown, like things like that, she wears a veil in the beginning, there's pirate ships, anything like that that might be helpful for them. I would send that in and they would kind of put that together. So I actually thought it was going to be like a girl on the cover staring out at the ocean. And then I got this and I was like, what is that? That's not that at all. But it turned out really cool with the golden hand. And then it was originally titled King Midas's Daughter, but then I changed it to A Touch of Gold before we went on submission. And they liked that title. They kept it. And we did go back and forth on A Curse of Gold for the title. We thought, maybe might be some different ones we tried out. And I didn't have any input on the cover for this one. It just kind of showed up.
Really?
But that crown.
I mean, the crown. I know.
The crown. If you get this book in person, it is amazing. That crown just looks phenomenal.
Yes, my copy was supposed to arrive today and it did not. So
soon.
Excuse me while I cry.
Well, here, you can look at it on here.
I know. It'll come tomorrow.
Yes. And then for Tiger Queen, yeah, again, actually, so Tiger Queen was originally titled The Lady and the Tiger because it's based off the short story The Lady or the Tiger by Frank Richard Stockton, which has an infamous cliffhanger ending if you've never read it. So I wanted to give that book or that short story an ending. And so that's what this was. So it was called The Lady and the Tiger. And one day it showed up in my email inbox and it just said, hey, here's your new cover. And we changed the title. So they changed it to Tiger Queen, but I ended up really liking the title. So it just took a couple minutes to get used to, but I was like, it's okay. Yeah. They have buzzwords in young adult books that they really like, queen, assassin, curse, crown, throne, anything like that is a buzzword and it helps the book sell better. Yeah, so they really love to get those kind of ones in there. So that's definitely important. And most people also don't know, like, let's say you could have a cover and then you might show it to Barnes & Noble or Amazon. And if either one of them says, we don't like that cover, it's gone. I've had that happen to many, many author friends. Yeah, so you might love the cover and then someone else says, nah, we don't think that's going to sell. And you just start over. So that's kind of sad. So you can have, I mean, if I hated the covers, I'm sure I could have pushed back, but I didn't. So
no, they're the art department.
Yes,
is amazing.
They do a phenomenal job. They really do.
A really amazing job. Well, who decides on how the book is marketed, and does the publisher do that, or you do that? Is combination? How does that process?
So I do have a marketing team and I have a publicity team. And right now I have a publicist, which is nice because you can kind of direct people there. That's always nice. But I actually do a lot of it myself. So they might set up things like Instagram tours, because if you're on Instagram, you'll have heard of Bookstagram, which is kind of like the book corner of Instagram, where people just post pretty pictures of books. If you have not gotten on it, please get on it. It is an excellent way to sell your books. And I see we actually have a question from Angela Jackson Brown about coming up with a marketing strategy during a worldwide pandemic. And so one of the things that I would say is get on Instagram. And again, this is a lot for the young adult market. If it's more serious, like nonfiction work, I'm not going to say it's not going to work on Instagram, but it gets your cover out there. There's a kind of a theory in the marketing world that someone needs to see your book cover 8 times. 8 times before they will take notice. Yes, 8 times, guys. Not like 2 or 3, 8 times before they stop and say, wow, this is everywhere. I need to check this out. Okay, I'm going to finally look into it, you know? So you need to have it on Instagram. I mean, not to say on TikTok. I mean, maybe that would help.
Oh.
I have a friend who swears by TikTok. I'm just getting into it, so I don't know. I can't go there yet, guys. But Facebook, you know, Twitter, as many people as you can get to share that image as often as you can is going to help you. So Angela, to answer your question, I think coming up with marketing strategy during a pandemic was really hard. I mean, we had to quickly switch focus because I do a lot of in-person events. Like I spent almost the second half of last year just on the road almost every single weekend. Between September and December, I think I was home 2 weekends, and one of those was for a wedding of my best friend. So yeah, it was a lot, but there are things you can do. You can set up these virtual events like we're doing right now. I'm doing a lot of virtual classroom visits as well, where I'm teaching classes to students on how to write books, or just talking to book clubs virtually as well. I've got a couple of those set up. But yeah, I think your major ones are just going to be social media, because the more you can get people out there, and there are like paid book tours that you can do that are actually not very expensive on Instagram, that are really great ways to get your book out there. They do beautiful pictures of your book. I love when they do that. I also think your platform is so important. So anytime you can get people to come to your platform is amazing. And one way I do that is giveaways. So I might say, you know, hey, A Curse of Gold is coming out, you know, this week. I'll give away a copy of A Touch of Gold so you guys can be ready for it. And I'll do a signed copy. And then so what they would have to do either on Twitter or Instagram is they'd have to follow me. So you have to follow me and then tag several of your friends who you think might be interested in winning. And then hopefully as they tag those people will want to win and also enter and follow you. And then that way you gain more followers who are potentially interested in that type of book, right? Because someone has tagged them and said, like, you know, check out this. So that works on Twitter, that works on Instagram. You could probably do it on Facebook too. I don't do a ton of giveaways on Facebook, but Instagram, I have a lot of fans there. Again, I'm a young adult author. A lot of young adult people are there, but if you're not young adult, think about where your readers are, right? And this is another thing, talking about marketing, Angela, is find out when to post. When's the best time, right? I mean, I used to work in publicity, and we would always say never pitch on a Monday and a Friday, because people are either coming into the office on Monday and they're a little overwhelmed, they're getting their week together, and everyone's already gone mentally on Friday. So you never pitch Monday and Friday. However, those might be okay days for posting, right? Maybe you're on LinkedIn. Maybe that's where your people are. If you're writing a teaching book or a business book of some sort, LinkedIn might be your best place. Or if you're writing a cookbook, Pinterest might be your best place. So, but you can use those images from Instagram, those really pretty Instagram images in that content, right? So that's something to think about as well. So again, going back, you need to figure out who your audience is, where are they located, and when can you reach them, right? If your audience is YA, young adult like me, you may not have a ton of interaction at 10 a.m. on Tuesday because those kids might be in school, right? But then again, you don't know if you're going to catch them after school because they might have soccer or drama club or whatever they're into, right? So it's kind of hit or miss. And with young adult, you are getting more and more people who are older readers. So it's kind of okay. So you'll see me post a lot at like 9 a.m. Because there are a lot of older people who are they've gotten into the office by 9:30, right? They're settled into their day. They might just pop open social media real quick to scroll through a few things. So think about that. So experiment with different times when you're posting. See, are you getting the same people over and over again? Are you getting no one? I know on Instagram, my own engagement has gone down since they introduced Reels, which is kind of like their version of like TikTok, which is basically like little videos. So for me, that's been harder because I haven't been doing a lot of Reels because I've had a book to launch and it's been crazy. But that's something that you can do. Think about what articles you can pitch. Again, anything you can do virtually is going to help you. Look at, there's a whole bunch of calendars online that either you can look at editorial calendars for different magazines. That's always helpful. You can see what they're publishing 6, 7, 8 months out because they have long lead times. Lead times is how long it takes them to publish the magazine and get everything in place. So if you see that in September of next year, they're publishing something on, cooking fruit, or preserving, and you've got a book about cooking fruit, that might be a great time to pitch them now because it takes them a couple months to see that pitch and then even longer to get it out there. So think about that. Look at the I don't know if it's, you'll find them out there. Just if you Google holiday calendars, you can look at if it's National Donut Day or National Read a Book Day, or, you can find a holiday related to what you write. It could be National Physician's Day, Dentist Day, something like that. You can find something and then pitch it to your local media, which you can do. Most of them have their contact info on their Twitter, on their website, somewhere you can find them and pitch them. And literally just Google how to pitch the media. Granted, it's easier said than done, and you probably won't get a response a lot of times, but it never hurts to try because it might be a slow news day, or they might just be looking for a feel-good story, which you could provide. So I know I'm talking a lot. But if you have other questions, guys, please drop them in here. But I do a ton, as you can tell, I do a ton of marketing and publicity on my own. I do a lot of my own images. If you go to my Instagram, ANNSULLIVA, again, that's ANNSULLIVA. It's like part of my name. You will see a lot of the images that I have created on my own for my book launch that include, cover images of my book and just different, edited images. And I use Canva, CANVA.com, and it's free to start out with. And it's like, you can use the free version forever. You don't have to pay, but there is a great paid version too, which I just upgraded to get some of these really cool images and kind of some different editing capabilities. But you can use canva.com to create really easy images. It's a lot less complicated than Photoshop, I found. Really easy to work with.
I love Canva.
Yes, it is a godsend, like such a great tool. So I always recommend that one. You can just create really great images. And that's something like if you don't want to go on Bookstagram, I mean, you can use it for Bookstagram. I use it all the time. But you can also use it, to post images to LinkedIn. It could be like a picture of you and a picture of your book and maybe a cool quote up above you. As kind of a marketing tool. So definitely think about what you can do to get yourself out there. Because just because it's a pandemic, I mean, there's kind of like two theories of thought is like, one, no one's reading because everyone's panicking and has no money, or two, people are reading because they have more time, a little bit more freedom, things like that. So it could be going either way right now. So I highly recommend that you kind of do whatever marketing that you can right now. You can try out Facebook ads. I've done several Facebook ads and Instagram ads, so we can talk about those too if you're interested. But yeah, always feel free to keep asking those questions, guys. But I'll get back to Jama since I've been talking for a while here.
Oh, well, that's all right. We wanted to, that good information, and that we wanted you to share. So in few other questions
No, that's
while we
fine.
wait for a few more people to open up with any other questions that they
guys,
might
drop
have.
them in. I'm here, happy to answer them anytime. And you can always find me on my website too at anniesullivanauthor.com. There's a contact form. You can send them directly to me. I am happy to talk with you. So just let me know.
Any interesting stories that you would want to share when you were out promoting, like in bookstores? I know you often liked to dress up when you were when you were giving a book signing. So can you share any stories?
Yeah, well, I do tend to usually dress in black and gold when I'm talking about A Curse of Gold and A Touch of Gold. But now that I've got Tiger Queen too, it's like, what color do I wear? But I do, if I'm going to an event, I love to dress up. And match my book covers in a way. And that again is excellent marketing. I'm now actually known for that. I'm known for wearing the colors of my book. And people always ask me, what are you gonna wear to your launch party? What are you gonna wear to the event? Like, I can't wait to see you at this. What are you gonna wear to BookCon? So it's a way to get people talking and thinking about your book and what you're gonna wear next. So always keep that in mind too, that what you wear is a part of your marketing as well. So yeah, so that's kind of a big part of it. I mean, I do have just funny stories. Like, one time I was at Book Expo in New York, which is one of my favorite events too. And someone messaged me on Twitter and they're like, I'm here. I came all the way from England to see you. And I'm like, they're like, could you come out of the green room and meet me? And so I did. And I came out and I just talked to them and they were like crying and they were so excited. And I was like, no, please don't cry. Like, it's okay. But
So
yeah, no, it was really
you have
special.
international friends.
I do. I'm so popular now.
That's wonderful.
No, just lots of people all over. Well, it's nice. So I also do a pre-order incentive for my books. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, so I send out like little gifts. Actually, I have some right here. So like these would be part of the pre-order incentive that I have for my books. Is these little character cards of Royce and Cora, my two main characters, that just have the A Curse of Gold cover on the back. And so I send these out. If you pre-order the book and send proof of that pre-order to an email address, I will send you these. I send you a magnet that basically looks like that, and a signed book plate. So Angela, if you're still watching, that is another way that you can do marketing, is to have something small that you can just mail out in an envelope, that's like, hey, here's something cool. We call it like book swag, that gets people excited about the book, that they can share on Instagram then, or on their social media, to kind of get other people excited about it too. And it's kind of like a free gift with purchase kind of thing. But it goes over really, really well. I mean, I've had hundreds of people pre-order my books before just because of that kind of stuff. So think about that as well.
Were those your ideas, or is that something that the your company produced for you?
I do it all on my own, actually. I mean, they might help if I asked, but if they're going to send something out, they typically want it to be like just electronic. So maybe like an electronic map of the world or an electronic poster. And I just find that doesn't get people as excited as something physical, something tangible. Like, I can have these
Yeah.
exclusive cards of the characters and hang them up in my room, or put them with my stuff from the book box that I get every month, that kind of thing. And so I think having something tangible, while it's more expensive, I think it helps. Like, my publisher is very often very, very pleased with my pre-order numbers, just because of that, because I really do put a lot of effort. And again, I put the cost. I reached out to the artist and had her design these characters. I worked with her to be like, let's make them look taller or older or younger or whatever, all that kind of stuff. Like, we spent several weeks going back and forth on these just to make sure they looked really, really good. And so that was all me. And then, so I get to decide. I usually kind of run it by my publisher, and I'm just like, hey, does this sound like a terrible idea? For Tiger Queen, I did enamel pins. And that was when enamel pins were like huge. So that went over really, really well. And I opened it up internationally. So that gets back to the story, is I opened it up internationally, and there were people from all over the world. I think we had like 15 countries or something.
Oh my.
It was crazy. I mean, we had like Algeria and Australia and, China. I think it was just like all over the place. But it was really cool too, to see that I had fans that I reached all over the world. So that's another thing. Again, sending international, very expensive, but it can open you up to new kind of worlds in a way.
So how'd you find the artist that designed those cards?
Yeah, so actually, one of my friends who's a writer, she actually owns her own publishing company, and she hosted my launch party last night. Hey, Michelle, if you're watching. name's Michelle Harper. You guys should definitely go check out her book, Kill the Beast.
Mhm.
Love that one. I kind of asked her, I was like, hey, do you have any recommendations for an artist? And so she hooked me up with Laura Hollingsworth. You can just barely see her signature in there, but she created these and she did an excellent job. Highly recommend her. She did the border, you know, she's like, hey, is this the kind of border you want? And I was like, looks great. Like, she did such a good job. So it's really easy to work with. So yeah, definitely check out Laura Hollingsworth if you're looking for someone like that.
Yeah, those are beautiful. And they can use them as bookmarks or keep them
Oh
with
yeah.
the heart with the book copies as yeah, that's
Oh yeah. Just like a fun little keepsake kind of thing.
yeah. Um, so what is your next project that you're working on?
Yeah.
Is that a secret?
It is a little bit of a secret. I don't like to talk about them in detail. It is, I'll say it's a standalone. It's not a retelling. It's just a new thing that I'm working on, which I'm really excited about. It's just going so slow. And so I guess I want to encourage you out there. If you're feeling like your writing is going slow, you're not alone. Most of the writers that I've talked to are struggling a little bit. We're in a pandemic and things are very uncertain. And I just feel like there's so much anxiety around often that it gets hard to write. Obviously this week, I haven't been able to write at all because I've had live events and interviews almost every single night this week, and I have a whole bunch next week, which is good problem to have. Love it, but does not help with the writing time. And I'm not staying up till 2 a.m. like I am when I'm in my revisions because I need my sleep. But so yeah, it's definitely been a little bit harder to write. I've got a picture book that I wrote that my agent actually really likes, so we're going to go on submission with that one, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I am definitely working on a new standalone YA fantasy that I am excited about. I just need to. I'm hoping to be done in the next couple months with a
Oh,
really good
really?
solid first draft. I'm about halfway through.
Did you always want to write YA?
Yeah, I mean, I love the young adult genre. I just love that you get to see usually like first love or young love. And I just love the fantasy part of it. I love dragons and dealing with real world issues within a fantasy world. Like, you know, Princess Cora in A Touch of Gold, she's got some anxiety about being turned to gold. She has anxiety about touching gold because of what happens when she does. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't read it. But, you know, it's like, and she's bullied, right? She has golden skin. There's all these rumors about her, like, if you look into her eyes, she'll turn you to gold. Or at night, she turns back into a golden statue. So, like, she experiences a lot of what I think young readers today might experience in their own lives. And so my whole goal with that is to kind of take these real world issues and introduce them in a fantasy context without naming them as bullying or anxiety or PTSD or anything like that. And then allowing the reader to kind of confront them as the character confronts them and learn to accept themselves and love themselves as they are, and maybe see that things that they thought were their greatest weakness might actually be their greatest strength and the thing that sets them apart and makes them unique. So that's kind of my goal. And that's why I love fantasies. You can really reach readers at kind of the right time at the right age.
I think that's what I really loved about A Touch of Gold was watching Cora go from her growth, where she didn't really love herself, like herself, who she was.
Mm-hmm.
She was different, and you know, we all face issues like that at some point, whether it's as a young adult or at any age. And so I think that the book, you don't have to be young adult to read it and grasp those important issues and to see how she changed at the end. You know, she I mean, I guess maybe we won't spoil it, but she didn't feel like she had to put a veil on or hide who she was. You know, she could just kick up her heels and dance a bit. I loved that part of the story and the character of Cora.
Yeah, I love how she changes, and it's funny because she's so different. So in A Touch of Gold, you know, she's a much softer character and becomes, you know,
Mhm.
stronger and you know, ready to face the world. Whereas Princess Kateri and Tiger Queen is a warrior princess who fights suitors in an arena to win her right to rule, and so she is sword wielding from like the age of 6. You know, so these two characters are so different. But you know, Kateri almost has to learn to trust other people, but Cora does too. You know, and they come
Mhm.
from two different kind of broken places where they have to find themselves. And I think that's, again, what I love about young adults is they are finding themselves, and I want to help them find their way if I
Mhm.
can.
Well, I don't know if we have any other people that want to jump in with questions. Um,
Yeah,
but
I think we have answered the one question I saw, but guys, please feel free to answer or to throw some questions down there in the comments. Happy to answer anything and everything you guys have. Don't be shy. There's no bad questions.
no. When you wrote a children's book, is that like a young a picture book, or is it?
Yeah, it would be a picture book. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's about sharks because I love
Okay.
sharks.
Oh, now that does not surprise me.
I know it doesn't surprise anyone who knows.
That's all you had to say. It's a shark book. Then it's written by Annie Sullivan.
No, I mean, the children's book market is so different
It's
and apparently so
hard.
very low. Like, it's crazy, and every word counts. I mean, in a novel, you can be wordy and talk about the setting, but like in a picture book, you can't be like, the boy in the blue hat ran up the hill, because the picture is going to show the boy in the blue hat running up the hill. So like, yeah, it's completely different, but I'm learning it. I'm loving it. So
Yeah,
we'll see. May or may not sell.
I
You
know,
just
but
never
it was.
know.
I bet it was fun to write.
It
So
was, it was. I mean, guys, if you don't know me in person, I love sharks. I've been cage diving in South Africa with great whites. I've been scuba diving with sharks. I've been swimming with sharks. So yeah, it's definitely,
Well, then here's another question, because those people that don't know you may not know that you are this world traveler. So how has your travels impacted the stories that you've written? Have they?
oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. I would say I take a lot of the settings that I've been to. So I've spent time in Greece and Ireland, and A Touch of Gold, the setting there is actually kind of a mixture of those two. And then actually, surprisingly, this always shocks people, I was like in Antarctica when I wrote a lot of Tiger Queen. Yeah, Antarctica, like, cold
uh,
place, which Tiger Queen is set in a very harsh desert, but I mean, Antarctica is in fact a harsh desert. It's considered a desert because it's so dry. So it's one of the largest deserts in the world. And all I had to do was take the the snow and the sleet and everything that was hitting me and turn it into sand, and that's how I kind of got the Tiger Queen experience. So that was kind of interesting as well, to think about it. And Yeah, I think there's some different things. Like I've toured some volcanic caves, and that comes up a little bit in A Curse of Gold. Some different. I don't know. I
you've
definitely
been on
think
all the continents, right?
yes, I've been to every single continent. And so I love traveling. I've been to like 60 or 70 countries at this point. Traveling is my thing. So right now it's been really
Oh,
hard.
it's hard.
Anywhere. So that's been really, really rough. But definitely tons of, actually, there's a character in Tiger Queen who I met somewhere. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but yeah.
Ah,
So yeah, so sometimes people end up in there.
uh-oh, curiosity peaked.
Yes.
Well, it looks like do you see there's another
Oh,
question?
yes. So from Joe, he says, oh, he's a Dummies alumni here. Yes, go Dummies. Has the success of your novels opened up any particular opportunities for you with Wiley, like writing YA fantasy for dummies, etc.? They have not asked me to write that book yet, but if you want to suggest it, Joe, I'm ready and waiting. No, I love the Dummies team. They are amazing. I don't even know if I have time to write a Dummies book. I used to help edit them, which was really, really fun. So I don't do a ton with them. I mean, they definitely use my skills and my author abilities from time to time for various things. And it probably surprises no one that I dress up as Dummies Man, the Dummies mascot, on occasion, because no one else wants to get into that costume, and I have no problem dressing up.
No, considering that a few years ago you were the Tyrannosaurus Rex at
Yes.
the conference, at bowling, actually
Yes.
bowling. We
Have to
have
be.
video. We have video to prove it. Well, they may not know you were inside the costume, but
I know.
I know that. I
I'm a
know that.
shy violet. No.
Oh, right. Yeah. Um,
But hey, that's a good way to get remembered if you're going to dress up in a costume. I mean, I mean, hey, I go to these conferences and people either pay people to dress up in their costumes, or they dress up. Like I said, I typically you wear like gold and black or tiger stripes if I'm promoting Tiger Queen, and you will get to be known for that. And that's actually not a bad thing. It'll hurt your budget because then you got to buy new clothes for every book. I don't think I owned a single piece of gold clothing until I wrote A Touch of Gold, and then I was like, oh sweet, I'm gonna wear gold for my launch party. And then it just became a thing.
And
So be careful what you write about if you're going to dress up.
well, this has been a great opportunity to share with Annie, and I'm glad folks could join us. I do love your quote that you say, I wouldn't be a published author without the Midwest Writers Workshop. Not only did they give me the tools and information I needed to improve my writing and find a literary agent, but they also introduced me to my critique partners. So a little plug for the conference, and a little plug for the upcoming Midwest Writers Workshop Agent Fest, which is going to be online. It'll be all virtual in November for 4 days, actually. And we have 9 agents. People can register and pitch to agents, and then we have 18 sessions, and they'll all be recorded. So you can listen to them whenever you want to, live or on the video. All these agents are looking for new voices. So if you have a book, and even if you're not sure you're ready to pitch to an agent, what you will learn through those 18 sessions could just be invaluable as you prepare your manuscript to be able to pitch. So all the information is on the website, midwestwriters.org. All the registrations are open, and you can check out that opportunity. Anything you want to, yes.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. I'll let you know a little secret, okay? So back when I first went to Midwest Writers, I was looking for an agent. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to this conference and I'm gonna get myself an agent. I ended up pitching one of the agents, and she was so excited about my book. She ended up giving me her card, a special card, because she loved my pitch. I sent her my material, and she asked for an R&R, which is a revise and resubmit. So she gave me some feedback and said, let's fix this a little bit. Let's fix the opening, make it a little bit more dynamic. So I did, but when I sent it back to her, I sent it to a few other agents as well. And that's how I ended up getting my agent. So Midwest Writers really helped me. Without the feedback from that agent, I don't think I would have gotten another agent interested. So definitely don't miss this opportunity. It is a great way. These are top tier agents, and you will not have many opportunities like this to really interact with them and pitch them on such a unique level.
Well, there you go, folks. Annie has spoken. So
go do it. Go register now before you forget.
Register tonight before all the pitch sessions are all filled up. So thank you, Annie. We appreciate that. Everybody go out and get your own copy of A Curse of Gold. You can purchase her other books, read those, read all of them, and follow her on Twitter and on Instagram. And we just wish you all the best, Annie, in the future in all your writing. And you know that Midwest Writers loves you. So
I love you guys. Wouldn't be here without you.
There we go. Thanks so much, Annie. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Okay, stop the